So, I started running a Daggerheart campaign recently, and I wanted to take a moment to sit down, talk about what that process has been like, talk about how I'm handling the system as a GM that has exclusively run D&D up to this point, talk about how I'm handling the system, talk about the characters, the story, things like that. So, let's hop in. I think the first thing that that I really do have to like criticize myself for when it comes to like switching systems, because like I say, I am a GM, traditionally DM, that has exclusively run D&D 5e. D&D 2024, as of the release of that edition, we've been running in my sort of longer running campaign. But as far as Daggerheart goes, of course it's a very different system. I mean, of course not different in every aspect. There are things that are, similar about both systems, but I think when it comes to Daggerheart, I think I need to stop calling for rolls. That's the first thing I need to tell myself. I need to stop calling for rolls like every 2 seconds. There is, interestingly, a bit of, I guess, anticipation in it. Something that I'm finding that like with both me and my players is that whenever I do call for a roll, there's a bit of like, oh shit, this could go either way. My players, are excited for the possibility of getting more hope. I'm excited for the possibility of getting more fear. We are scared of the opposite result either way. It's a fun sort of back and forth. It really does, I think, solidify something that the system was really going for, which is the sort of give and take of that expendable resource of hope and fear. Fear is really exciting for me. Hope is exciting for them. But I think when it comes to me, like calling for too many rolls, like one of my players in our first session maxed out his hope. He filled up his hope meter the entire throughout the first session, and ended up spending a lot of it throughout the end, and it really whomped my ass. He killed an enemy that I was not expecting to die in a particular chase scene I was running towards the end of the session. Speaking of fear, I actually got these tiny skulls off of Amazon, just to use for like fear tokens that I'm using for those as I go through it. It's been very fun. It's a fun little representation of it. They arrived literally right before we ran the first session. I was thinking I was going to run the first session without them, but I was able to actually, and they were a fun little thing. We are running the campaign over Discord, which I run all my campaigns over Discord. I don't have enough friends in real life to play with people in person regularly. So playing with my friends online is incredibly fun. But we do try to or something that I usually go for at my tables with D&D, and of course in this case Daggerheart, is I try to recreate as much of the home game feel as I possibly can when I'm running games. I encourage my players to roll with physical dice. I roll with all my physical dice. I have all my physical books in front of me. I try to not be as digital as possible, even though of course stuff like D&D Beyond, it makes my usual D&D campaigns incredibly easy. I was trying to find a good Daggerheart equivalent for D&D Beyond, something that my players could keep their character sheets on. I ended up finding Daggerstack. If any of you are familiar with Daggerstack, I didn't want to go with Demiplane. Demiplane I like as a service, but unlike a system like D&D Beyond, where you can share all the content that one person buys on there to a larger campaign, as far as I could tell, you can't do that on Demiplane, and I wasn't going to force all of my players to buy their own Daggerheart core rulebook digitally, especially since most of them have the core rulebooks physically. I wasn't going to force them to do that. I certainly don't own even the digital Demiplane version of the Daggerheart core rulebook, especially when I already have the PDF and the actual physical copy, as you can see right back there. But you can also see back there, this is unrelated to everything, is a little map back there. That is the map of the continent that my main D&D campaign takes place on. This Daggerheart campaign is a sort of side campaign. It is a sort of mini-series campaign, if you will. It should run 10 to 15 sessions, so that is about how long this campaign diary should be going for. Let's talk about the characters, actually. I'd like to bring up the characters now. I have 4 players. We have, if I'm good enough with editing, I'll have their portraits over here as I talk about them. There is, I guess, first up, my friend Jacob is playing Deadeye Jack, the Furbolg Ranger. He is a literal cowboy. He's a literal cowboy, as you can hopefully see right there. Hopefully I took the time to edit this in. He's a literal cowboy, and I think that's hilarious. He also did a really cool thing that I really, really love. He chose the community Orderborn, or no, Orderborn. He chose the community Orderborn. And the sort of community feature with Orderborn is that you sort of choose values that you sort of live by. And I thought that was a particularly poignant mechanical benefit to playing a cowboy, aside from being a literal, like I said, a literal cowboy, which is very cool. Next up, my friend Brian is playing a fun girl by the name of Micah. Very clever, I know. A fun girl by the name of Micah, who's a wizard. Fun little character, fun little guy. I really, really love Micah. Micah kind of immediately became like the fan favorite, if you will. If you know, a campaign being played by 5 people has fans, I guess this is the fan favorite. Something I didn't know going into it is that that Micah was gonna have a little familiar type thing. It's like a tiny little mushroom that hangs out in Micah's pocket, and it's adorable. Micah's adorable. We all love Micah. It's great, and I hope you do too. Next up, my brother Jacob, yes, we have 2 Jacobs in this campaign, is playing JSO3, the Clank Druid. It came off this really cool idea that me and my brother ended up having when making his character, that how would certain ancestries in Daggerheart interact with certain classes in Daggerheart, and of course the image for the Warden of Renewal, right? I'm pretty sure that's the right one. Yeah, Warden of Renewal. The Warden of Renewal druid in the book is a clank, and we were like, well, how would that actually work? How, you know, like if can you take a literal, like, strictly mechanical being and turn that into a druid somehow? And we came up with the idea. I'm sure this isn't original. I'm sure other people have thought of this, but we thought it was really cool of Jay being a transformer, essentially, of using that wild shape ability for that all druids have to turn into animals like a transformer would. So like in this first session, the only thing that he turned into was a mouse, and like describing ways of like transforming and like the metal sort of like condensing and becoming a mouse in that moment was really, really cool. Especially we had this cool idea of like the mask on Jay sort of like coming up and like acting as like ears, like coming upwards. That was just a cool idea, something that mechanically we thought we could have a lot of fun describing, and wouldn't just be fun strictly on a mechanical level. Lastly, my friend Will is playing Tulash Tagar, the Dracona Seraph. It is really cool. Throughout the party, though not in combination, my players ended up choosing, without my influence, my favorite class in Daggerheart, the Seraph, and my favorite ancestry in Daggerheart, which is the Fungrill. I've always imagined a Fungrill Seraph, and if I were to play Daggerheart, I would absolutely, if I were to be a player for once at all in my life, I would be a Fungrill Seraph. That's something I would do, definitely, 100%. But Will is playing Tulash Tagar, the Dracona Seraph. There are a certain number of secrets about Tulash that I won't be sharing here, as I'm sure I'll be talking with them later on in this campaign diary, and of course there is, I do think, also the possibility that my players end up finding this campaign diary, and I am denying them those secrets at this time. I do have to mention at this time that all of these portraits are done by my wonderful friend Andrew. I commissioned Andrew to do all these portraits for the campaign. He did a fantastic job with them. Seriously, Andrew, if you do find this for some reason, thank you oh so very much for doing these portraits. Just a fantastic job all around. Actually, I might I'll leave in the description. You can check out Andrew's Bluesky. He shares all of his art there. He truly is great. I love Andrew. He's been a friend for a long time. But let's talk about story. How did story go? How did my players enjoy the adventure that I have set out for them? Well, it's session 1. It's session 1. What else would you expect? It is introducing all of our characters, finding an excuse for them all to come together, and hopefully start to go on an adventure together. I did sort of end up, though I hadn't quite realized it until it was sort of like already in action. I did sort of do like a half hot start, if you will, in that like there were a couple characters, like I would say like 3 out of the 4 characters got like stronger, like longer character introductions, but a lot of them didn't end up actually like interacting with each other until it came time for the chase scene that I mentioned earlier in the video. The chase that ended up sort of like pushing them all together and like forcing them all to like be on the run from a number of adversaries. That sort of like forced them all together. So they haven't like properly gotten to know each other yet as a party. Aside from Micah and Tulash, who started the campaign already knowing each other, being vaguely familiar with one another, Will and Brian had decided that their characters would have a small amount of history before the first session actually began. But as far as the other 2 characters, completely unfamiliar with anyone else in the party, and they're only just brought together by the end of this first session. And even then, our first session ended with a lead-in to a combat that will start up the second session, so they're not going to have much time to talk until all that is over and until things finally start to calm down a little bit. And that may not be for a hot minute. So I'm not quite sure how to go in the second session, but I suppose we'll see when it comes time for such a thing. Something else fun that me and my brother had decided on before the first session began was that JSO3, before anything else started, was going to be aligned with an adversarial gang within the nation of Anathor, where this campaign takes place. He's going to be aligned with the Shellheads, a Galapa gang that had sort of like run shady deals throughout the nation, end up having a history with Deadeye Jack, being based on a cowboy. Me and Jacob had come up with a number of ideas about it, like expanding like what Jack had done leading up to the start of the campaign. One of which being stopping a robbery, being enacted by the Shellheads, and so JSO3 and the Shellheads as a whole are starting this campaign, had started the campaign, on the hunt for Deadeye Jack, finding him, trying to get revenge on him for this past transgression. And with the Shellheads arriving in Norisho, the city that the campaign started within, Tulash and Micah ended up getting hired as bodyguards to protect this club known as the Pax Club from this incoming Shellhead gang invasion, if you will. JSO3, as it turns out, does not like being employed by the Shellheads, is rather poorly treated by them, heavily abused, and finds himself aligning himself with the rest of the party as they come together and end up running from the Shellheads by the end of the session, hence leading to this chase sequence I've been mentioning, I think, 3 times now in the video. The chase sequence ended up going in a very odd direction. I had already like accounted for the fact that I'd end up doing a progress countdown for the chase at some point in this session. But what I hadn't counted on was the idea that a number of the party, 3 out of 4 of the party, would stay behind just as this chase was getting started. So what I ended up essentially doing was running 2 chase countdowns at once. Micah being chased down by the Galapa bodyguards, and the rest of the party, Tulash, Jack, and Jay, running behind those other Galapas. And I had to like resolve both chases at the same time. So essentially I had like a progress and consequence countdown going on one side, and the second progress countdown going on the other side. Eventually ended up going that like the first the one that was chasing the Galapas ended up getting resolved first. So they ended up joining Micah at the front of the chase. It was very strange. It was very strange to run, which certainly didn't help the fact that I was definitely going through a lot of like new system first session jitters, just kind of like general nerves before actually getting into this that I was still trying to work past, and having to like really throw myself into something that isn't perfectly covered in the core rulebook of Daggerheart wasn't ideal, but I did end up making it work, and I do think it was still ended up being fun for my players, none of whom have played Daggerheart before. It was a new system for all of us, so we were all trying it for the first time, so we're also getting the hang of things, and hopefully things will end up I don't want to say that this first session wasn't bad or anything, but hopefully things will run even smoother next session. One final note before I leave you. This campaign is taking place within the same larger world that my main D&D campaign takes place in. This is a world that I've been building out for about 2.5 years now. So not even quite a full 2.5 years. Over 2 years is the point. Is that I have a main D&D campaign that I have been running for that entire time. It was the first game I ever started running. It's still going to this day. It's been an incredibly fun time. A number of players in this Daggerheart campaign play in that main campaign. I've also run a sort of mini-series D&D campaign that takes place in the past of the world. This Daggerheart campaign takes place a little bit closer to the present day of the main campaign, if you will. I've run a number of one-shots in the world. It's a world I've been building out for a very long time. So finding ways to connect these campaigns, these one-shots, these adventures I run in ways that are fun to like connect them, because they do all take place in the same world, but are also still their own individual adventures, has been really interesting, because there's no single player that has played in every single game that I've ever run. So things just still need to like stand on their own and still, be their own thing. And I think that's something that I really try to nail, like whenever I do run these side campaigns or these one shots. So that's something that I just want to comment on. Hopefully that's something that I'll be able to delve into more when I'm not doing all this introductory stuff in the first campaign diary. So I don't know. If you enjoyed this, this is something totally new for me. I've never tried a campaign diary before, despite running games for well over 2 years now. So yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this. Let me know if you want to see more. I appreciate anyone that took the time to watch this all the way to the end. Thank you. My name is Joey. If you couldn't tell by the channel name, I really do appreciate anyone that took the time to watch this. And I don't know, I guess I'll see you in the next one.